Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the exciting world of ESPN Fantasy Football. Now this video will serve as your ultimate guide to the game, providing you with all the essential information you need to create a successful team and compete against friends and strangers alike. Fantasy football is a virtual game where you draft real-life NFL players to form your own team. You then score points based on your players' performances in actual NFL games. It's a thrilling experience that combines the excitement of watching professional football with the strategy and competition of a fantasy league. In this video, we'll cover the basics of fantasy football, including how to draft players, manage your team, and understand different scoring formats. We'll also explore various league types and provide valuable tips to help you become a successful fantasy football manager. Let's go ahead with the video. Now that you have a general understanding of what fantasy football is, let's dive deeper into the basics. The draft is the cornerstone of fantasy football. It's where you select players to form your team. There are two main drafting formats: snake drafts and auction drafts. In a snake draft, teams take turns selecting players in an alternating order. In an auction draft, teams bid on players using a set amount of auction dollars. Points are awarded based on your players' performances in real NFL games. Different scoring formats assign different point values to various player stats. Common scoring categories include passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, receptions, and interceptions. Each week, you'll need to set your starting lineup, choosing the players you believe will perform the best. You can typically start a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex player, which can be a running back, wide receiver, or tight end, a defense or special teams unit, and a kicker. Now, to improve your team, you can trade players with other fantasy managers. Trades are typically negotiated between 2 teams and require both managers to agree on the terms. Fantasy football leagues can vary in terms of their structure and rules. What are the different league types? Let's have a look. Redraft leagues are the most common type of fantasy league. In redraft leagues, a new draft occurs each season. This means that you'll need to rebuild your team from scratch every year. Keeper leagues allow you to keep a certain number of players from one season to the next. This can be a great way to build a strong core of talent over time. Dynasty leagues are the most long-term of all league types. In dynasty leagues, you keep all of your players year after year. This creates a long-term perspective and allows you to build a dynasty of talented players. Many fantasy platforms allow you to create custom leagues with your own unique rules and settings. This gives you the flexibility to tailor the league to your preferences. The scoring format of your fantasy league will determine how many points you earn for your players' performances. Here are some of the most common scoring formats. Standard scoring is the most basic scoring format. In standard scoring, points are awarded based on traditional stats like passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns. And PPR, points per reception. Scoring rewards players who are good at catching passes. In PPR scoring, wide receivers and tight ends earn extra points for each reception. 0.5. PPR scoring is a middle ground between standard scoring and full PPR scoring. In 0.5 PPR scoring, wide receivers and tight ends earn half a point for each reception. Many fantasy platforms also allow you to create your own custom scoring system with unique point values for different stats. This gives you the flexibility to tailor the scoring to your preferences. When drafting your team, you'll need to consider the various player positions available. Let's take a look at the most common positions. The quarterback is the primary passer of the team. They are responsible for throwing the ball to wide receivers and tight ends. Running backs are versatile players who can carry the ball and catch passes. They are often the focal point of a team's offense. Wide receivers are primarily known for their ability to catch passes. They line up on the outside of the offensive formation. Tight ends are a combination of receivers and offensive linemen. They can both catch passes and block. The flex position is a versatile spot that can be filled by a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. This position represents your entire team's defense and special teams units. It scores points based on defensive and special teams performance. Kickers are responsible for kicking field goals and extra points. The draft is a crucial part of fantasy football success. let's take a look at some common drafting strategies. Value-based drafting involves selecting players who are undervalued based on their projected performance. This strategy can be effective if you're able to identify players who are being overlooked by other managers. Zero RB is a strategy that involves avoiding drafting running backs in the early rounds. This can be risky, but it can also be rewarding if you're able to find value at the running back position later in the draft. Contender or contender is a strategy that involves either building a competitive team from the start or waiting for a later rebuild. If you're aiming to win your league right away, you'll need to draft a strong team from the beginning. However, if you're willing to be patient, you may be able to rebuild your team and become a contender in future seasons. If you're participating in an auction draft, it's important to set a budget for each position and avoid overpaying for players. Be patient and wait for players to come to you at a fair price. In a snake draft, it's important to be patient and wait for value to come to you. Don't feel pressured to draft players just because it's your turn. Once you've drafted your team, it's time to manage it effectively. Now here are some tips. Choose your best players each week based on matchups and injuries. This means that you'll need to stay up to date on the latest news and trends in the NFL. Use the waiver wire to claim players who are dropped by other teams. The waiver wire is a great way to find undervalued players who can contribute to your team. Negotiate trades with other fantasy managers to improve your team. Trades can be a great way to acquire talented players or fill holes in your roster. Keep a strong bench to fill in for injured or underperforming players. A deep bench can be the difference between a winning team and a losing team. Stay informed about player injuries and make adjustments to your lineup accordingly. Injuries can have a significant impact on a fantasy team, so it's important to be prepared to make changes as needed. Here are some additional tips to help you succeed in fantasy football. Stay informed about player news, injuries, and matchups. This means reading articles, watching sports news, and following your favorite teams on social media. Don't panic if your team starts slow. Fantasy football is a marathon, not a sprint. It's important to stay patient and trust your long-term strategy. Be willing to adjust your strategy as the season progresses. Things can change quickly in the NFL, so it's important to be flexible and adaptable. Fantasy football is meant to be fun, so don't stress too much over wins and losses. Enjoy the competition and the camaraderie of playing with friends and family. Participate in League Chat to connect with other managers and share information. League Chat can be a valuable resource for getting advice, trading players, and staying up to date on the latest news. Now take full advantage of the ESPN Fantasy Football features. What are they? Let's take a look. Live scoring allows you to follow your team's performance in real time, with instant updates on every play, score, and statistical milestone. You can stay on top of the action and make strategic adjustments to your lineup as needed. Player News lets you stay informed about the latest player news and injuries, including breaking news, injury reports, and player performance analysis. This will help you make informed decisions about your roster and waiver wire claims. The ESPN Trade Analyzer lets you evaluate potential trades and their impact on your team's overall strength. The Trade Analyzer provides detailed analysis of player values, projected points, and potential synergies, helping you make the best possible deals. The League Chat lets you connect with your league mates and engage in lively discussions about fantasy football strategies, player rankings, and league news. This helps build relationships with other managers and create a fun and competitive environment. Now you can also tailor your league settings to your preferences and create a unique fantasy experience. You can adjust scoring formats, draft order, roster sizes, and other league rules to fit your desired level of competition. With ESPN Fantasy Football, you have the opportunity to experience the thrill of NFL football from a unique perspective. By drafting your own team, making strategic decisions, and competing against friends and rivals, you can immerse yourself in the world of fantasy sports. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or a newcomer to the game, ESPN Fantasy Football offers a wealth of features and resources to help you succeed. So gather your friends, draft your team, and get ready for an unforgettable season of fantasy football excitement. And there you go. I hope you have found this video helpful. See you guys next time.